Welcome to Next Steps, a podcast from Blackhawk Church. We believe that following Jesus is a lifelong journey, so no matter where you're at, there's always a next step to take. Each week on this podcast, we'll create space for real conversations about the questions we wrestle with, the challenges we face, and the hope we find in Jesus. Our goal isn't to have it all perfectly figured out, but to walk faithfully towards Jesus together. We're so glad you're joining us. Let's dive in.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's Behind the Scenes Next Steps podcast. As a reminder, each week in this season, we are taking a behind-the-scenes look at one of our areas of ministry here at Blackhawk. They've been so fun. We've gotten some great feedback from you all, just saying how much you've enjoyed this, how much you've felt like you know better how God is moving in the life of our church, as well as like how you can be praying. And so it's really fun. We have a different ministry team with us today. So today we are going behind the scenes with Care Ministry. So here in the room with me, we have the pastor of Care Ministry, which is Anne Kierce, and then Associate Director Alicia Penning. So welcome, you guys.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here.
Thanks, Tiff. Fun to have you. Okay, well, let's some people know you, some people don't. So would you, one of you guys start of who are you? What do you do on the care team? Tell us a little bit just about who you are.
Sure. Well, thanks so much. Honestly, I've really been looking forward to this conversation and feel like it's always a great opportunity to sit with the two of you and chat. So my name is Anne Kierce. I'm the pastor of Care Ministry, and things about me that I love. Mm-hmm. I love coffee. I love butter.
Oh my gosh, I love butter too, Anne.
I know.
I didn't know this already. I'm learning things about you.
Salted butter. Uh-huh. I love...
Is there any other kind? Is there anyone who likes unsalted butter? I know.
Who buys it? We don't buy salted.
I don't buy
unsalted. No, I love homemade butter with coarse sea salt on top.
Like you...
I've made butter. I don't have a cow, but I have made butter. Yeah, I just love it. That's actually something I learned in community group was how to make homemade butter. Yeah, love butter. I love seafood. And as you both know, I love sing-along spin class. I love to cycle and sing while I do it. I'm married and I have two kids. They are 17 and 18 years old. And yeah, I've been at Blackhawk pretty well since like Brader Way opened. Mm-hmm. We visited a little bit on Whitney Way, and in 2007, 2008 made Blackhawk our church home.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Alicia, how about you? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, my name's Alicia Penning. I've been on staff with the care team for almost 2 years now. Before that, I spent over 2 decades working in campus ministry for a parachurch organization with undergraduate students. I now still do a little bit of work for that organization with graduate students and university faculty. I'm married to my husband, Adam. He's the lead pastor of Blackhawk downtown. And Adam and I have 3 kids who are all teenagers now, which is, parenting teenagers is, I feel like I'm listening to like the list of things that Anne loves, and I'm like, what do I love? It all kind of gets lost in parenting teenagers, because honestly, I feel like my free time is spent watching soccer games and going to musicals and other musical performances of my kids and basketball games. So I feel like I'm in the season of life where it's kind of taken over by my kids' activities, which I love. Like my kids are a blast, and I love being a mom of teenagers. I also I enjoy playing piano and reading. I like poetry. That kind of helps me slow down a little bit. It's not everybody's vibe liking poetry.
Do you read it or do you write it?
Both.
Wow, Alicia.
Yes. But I do not share my poetry. Really, the only person who's read my poems is my husband. And even then, not very often.
Wow.
But it is therapeutic for me. So cool. I enjoy reading and writing and just being involved with my kids' lives. Our family has been at Blackhawk Adam started attending here when he moved to Madison in 2003. And I started attending once we got married. I moved to Madison in 2005. So we were at Whitney Way back in the days. He was also, when Whitney Way was still there and we started to run out of space very briefly, we had an overflow service at a movie theater in Hilldale.
Oh, I hear about these days.
Yes. And Adam often led worship there.
Yes.
So he was on.
So it was before Majestic. It was
before Majestic.
Before Majestic.
Yes,
Okay.
before Majestic.
Yeah.
So we sometimes would go to church at the Hilldale movie theater. And then we're here at Breda Way. And then we're part of the Fitchburg launch. And then we moved out to New York City in 2015. So we were gone for 5 years in New York and then came back in 2020 to be a part of Blackhawk downtown. So we've been here ever since.
Journey for both of you.
Yeah.
What a journey.
Long history with Blackhawk, but it feels like, for me, it almost feels like, it's gotten a lot more intense in the last few years. My involvement with Blackhawk since I've been on the staff.
Yeah, totally. That's right. That's right. So speaking of staff, your roles on the care team, for many people in our church, they may not know even like what the care team is exactly, for what purposes it specifically exists. So why don't you tell us a little bit about just like, what is the care team? What is your guys' kind of purpose? And then what roles do you play on that team? And maybe why do you guys do this? What calls you to that? Like what makes you get up in the morning? Why care ministry for you particularly?
Yeah. Those are a lot of questions.
Yeah, there are so many. So let's dive in.
No, absolutely. I can go first. I think one of the really cool things is that Alicia and I happened upon care ministry in really different ways. So I don't know if you remember a few years back, there was a commercial for Hair Club for Men, which is like a hair loss product.
Yeah,
And in the commercial, the president of Hair Club for Men would say, I'm not only the president, but I'm also like a user.
Oh.
Right?
I was like, where are you going with
a customer of Hair Club for Men. So my entrance into care was that I needed it. Yeah. So I was in a part of a community group, and there was a man in my community group who kind of pulled me aside and said, like, I hear the things that you're sharing, and it sounds like you're in the midst of a really painful time. And I wonder if you'd ever thought about reaching out to care ministry at Blackhawk. And I was like, what? I don't need that. So I didn't, obviously. But he was right, because a year later, I was reaching out to care ministry. And I really needed the support that I found. So when I talked with the care volunteer, I gained a much wider net of people that were in my court. And some of those supports came from within the Blackhawk community. Like, I had a volunteer that I talked with every week, and I prayed with her. And I attended a Bible study, and those women in that Bible study really became an important support. My community group continued along. And then I was connected with Mother-Child Resources. And they... Marilyn just loved us so well, loved my kids well. And just the amazing amount of diapers that the Blackhawk community provided our family was really allowed me to see how the body of Christ can really come around a person or a family. And then the care team also helped me identify, like, oh, do I need to talk with a doctor? Do I need a great therapist? How do I find one? Like, what other community resources might be helpful? And so I just had this wonderful experience of being loved so well during such a critical time in my life, and understood what it means to be a part of the body of Christ in a way that I never knew before then. So yeah, that was my entrance into care, which is something that isn't unique. It's something that we hear from a lot of our volunteers who who were served by others, and now it's a season in their life where they can provide care to others. So, yeah. Alicia?
I feel like Anne's story really captures kind of the big picture of what care ministry is about at Blackhawk. It's really about coming alongside people who are going through a really painful time in life. And my entrance into it was, I wasn't a care receiver. I think I had, now that I look back, my 20 years of campus ministry, I did a lot of spiritual care, but I didn't call it that then. I was sort of thinking of it as just, broader discipleship or, development of young adults. But what kind of drew me in was being a Symbis facilitator a little bit, was how I first got connected with. Back then, our marriage ministry was kind of part of care. Now it's part of spiritual formation. But that was my sort of foot in the door, actually just getting to know Anne because she was overseeing it at that time.
I'm just going to interject that a Symbis facilitator is a facilitator that sits down with an engaged couple and walks them through an assessment that helps them to identify areas of growth, opportunities in their relationship, and kind of some opportunities for more resources or that kind of thing. So
yes. And I don't even remember how I started doing that, actually.
I think I asked you.
Did you just ask me to do it? But I loved it. And we got coffee too.
Great at it. Yeah. And we got coffee.
Yeah. And so I think it was just getting to know Anne. And then there was a need for kind of an interim staff coverage for someone to coach our group care leaders. And Anne asked me to step into that. And then I can just remember getting to know some of the volunteers who did group care at Blackhawk, the divorce care leaders and the grief share leaders. And as I got to know them, I feel like, oh gosh, what they do is really meaningful, getting to walk alongside people who are in really painful seasons of life. And I think I'd always thought of myself as, well, I felt a little, if someone had told me that I would be applying for the job that I'm in right now 5 years ago, I think I would have thought it was strange. I felt a little underqualified for this. But I have loved, it's very meaningful to be part of people's healing journey when they're in this. And also I think one thing we talk about a lot is I think I thought you needed some expertise, I need a counseling degree to do that kind of work or something. And it's been sort of a slow dawning that really I have what I need to step into these hard seasons with people. And in some ways, I've been doing it for a long time with young women. I just didn't call it that. But just journeying alongside of them in harder seasons of life as they go through major transitions. And there's some deeper waters that I've walked through with different people too around trauma or mental health and things like that. So that's what kind of drew me in. It was sort of a slower drawing in for me.
I feel like there was sort of, I don't know, reluctant might be too strong of a word, really. But I just feel like when I looked at you, I saw the way that you demonstrated faithfulness to others in the midst of really important seasons in their lives. And I think when we first talked about care, you were like, I'm not really a caregiver. And it's interesting. And I wonder if you'd share, how do you, you mentioned that you didn't think maybe you were qualified for care. How has your opinion of what being qualified for care, how has that changed? What is that now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's changed a lot. We've talked about this quite a bit because I think one of the things we want to do is help people in our church realize, we're all called to care in some way or another. And really the qualification for it is just having received comfort and care from God ourselves and then being willing and open to sort of being a vessel for that in other people's lives. I actually this is really beautiful. I had someone pray over me recently as I was just processing. I mean, we step into some hard things with our work. And there had been something a couple weeks ago that just affected me a little bit more. And a friend was praying for me about my experience of walking on this journey with someone else. If this isn't too complicated, but this friend who was praying for me, she was like, boy, as I think of what God has called you to do, Alicia, I just picture like you taking someone's hand and together placing your hands in the hands of Jesus. And I was like, yeah, that's what it feels like. And that's really the major qualification is knowing how to reach out for Jesus's hand and be willing to take someone else's hand and place it there with us.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It reminds me of even what Paul is talking in 2 Corinthians in that first chapter, talking about, right, like the Father, praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all of our troubles so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. Yes. I just think care ministry is such a beautiful picture of that, but beyond care ministry. I mean, you said you thought this was like you were doing discipleship. And actually, that's something that Anne and I talk about a lot, is that where the spiritual formation team and where the care team, like we're a Venn diagram that is super overlapped.
Yes,
like we have, it is discipleship. Yeah. We're in two different quote unquote teams, but the collaboration and what we're actually doing is just coming at discipleship just from two different angles, from a space of hurting or a space of not hurting yet or not hurting in particular right now.
Yes.
But it's the same kind of the same work that we're doing together.
Because when you ask people, like, you know, not even in whatever context, but if you ask people tell me about a time when you really grew spiritually.
99% of the time.
Often involves
suffering.
Something really painful.
Yeah, a crisis.
Yeah.
Yes. And I wish that God had grown me through carnival rides or beach
totally all
vacations.
The best things.
But yeah, he did his work. In such really challenging times and the times where I just felt devastated. And so I think you're right, Tiffany. It is formation.
Yeah, for sure. Why don't you guys tell us a little bit of what in particular do you all do? Because I think that's going to be important
like
as
us
we
individuals.
Yes, individual.
Yeah.
Because I think that's going to be important as we kind of move on to kind of the end of our episode. So why don't you guys?
Absolutely. So as pastor of care ministry, I oversee our department. And specific areas that I hold are pastoral care and crisis care. That also includes like our emergency pastoral care that exists for true emergency kind of after hours.
So maybe saying, so we have 16 pastors on staff. And so you help organize us.
That's true.
To respond to
emergency.
Yeah, kind of emergency pastoral care.
Yeah. I work with families and individuals when there's been a death or when someone is end of life. I oversee kind of our counseling directory and access to that. And then work with our site teams. A lot of the work that I do is coaching other leaders here at Blackhawk. So working with like student ministries or Be Kids or site teams to provide care for the people in their ministry areas.
Yeah. Really
and okay, so my title again, Associate Director of Care Ministry. It's one of those that I feel like I have to tell people like 50 times. It's not self-explanatory. But I oversee group care. So I continue to coach divorce care leaders, grief share. We have a couple of other sort of shorter term things that fall under group care that I help give leadership to. I oversee our volunteer strategy and development as well. So I work a lot with coaching volunteers that are involved with care ministry. And so Yeah. So not just group care, but our alongside ministry leaders. I help with the coaching of them. I also oversee special events and courses related to care. So the biggest event, like service, really, that Care Ministry does is Blue Christmas. And so I kind of give leadership to that. And periodically we'll do a care-related course, or often we partner with spiritual formation for a course that there's, as Tiffany said, a lot of overlap between spiritual formation and care. So for instance, Lynn Beanick and I together helped design the marriage crash course that happened last spring. Yes. So that's one of the things that I did. Yep. And then I also, along with Anne, will help with some site-related things, and particularly with the downtown site. So I'm often there on Sundays, helping with care-related things, and yeah.
Love that. So even picking up from what you shared, you both do a lot of development of other people. Maybe for some people, they would think, oh, the care team wholeheartedly by themselves cares for everyone at Blackhawk.
The care team does the care.
Team does the care, but that's actually not what you all do.
No. There's just two of us sitting here.
Exactly.
And lots of people at Blackhawk.
That's right. So maybe people would think, well, then who does the care? So why don't you let us, who does the care at Blackhawk?
Well, I mean, we all do.
We all do. We all do.
So our vision, our hope, our dream is that we will be a community that cares well for one another. As Alicia was describing, right? God comforts us, and the scripture you read, Tiffany, so that we can extend that comfort to others. So we have incredible volunteer teams that offer care in group settings, person-to-person care, people that meet in person over a cup of coffee or over the phone, who extend care, who are there for one another, who walk alongside one another. And also like our staff, but it's certainly not limited to our staff, right? And our hope is that, yes, pastoral care is available at Blackhawk, that if someone is facing a difficult time, it is reasonable and it is accessible to sit down with a pastor and talk about what's going on. Absolutely. And that also it will extend towards other community supports. Yeah. So a lot of times people that come for care, they'll kind of, they might start by sitting down with a pastor first, and then perhaps they'll be connected with a volunteer that checks in with them once a week or once a month, depending on what this situation fits. And then maybe they'll join a group. And so it can be a whole kind of collection, a wide community of supports.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I often think of, the need for spiritual care, if you think of it like a spectrum, like everyone in our church really needs spiritual care. I think what the care team, like the care staff and our volunteers, how many volunteers do we have serving with care, Anne? Like over 100, I think.
I mean, it's a lot.
I'm
not great on the actual spreadsheet, and it's full.
If Alyssa Dabner were here, she would
tell you
Alyssa
exactly
were here, she would tell you the number. She's on our care team. She's our care coordinator, and that woman, she knows spreadsheets and numbers really well.
Yeah, but I often think, okay, if everyone at Blackhawk, really, we all need spiritual care. It's part of our development as disciples of Christ. But I think the care team, when you come to the care team, is sort of when there's an acute need, like something that's particularly intense. So, but spiritual care, I think everyone at our church needs it, and everyone at our church is called to help provide it. So if you're in a community group, there's someone in your group that week, for instance, who is just, had a difficult week, there's something difficult going on with their kids or a friend or another family member, and you pray for them. Yeah. That's spiritual care that happens in our church. Mm-hmm. If that situation begins to escalate into a family crisis of some sort, then you might reach out to the care team because it's sort of escalated into something that's more acute and intense, and then we can help journey alongside for a season during that intense time, and connect people to other resources. But, the short answer is at Blackhawk, I think we're hoping that everyone sees themselves as being called to help provide spiritual care, and receive spiritual care. And so part of what we have specific volunteers that Anne and I, and the rest of our team, Alyssa and Michaela, we're working to develop and equip to provide specific kinds of care. But we also view ourselves as wanting to help equip the entire church to do that. So we don't just work with our volunteers. Occasionally we'll, for instance, last week I met with the Blackhawk Bible study leaders to talk about providing spiritual care in their small groups at Blackhawk Bible Study. Sometimes we'll, meet with different groups of leaders who are really providing spiritual care at Blackhawk.
I love that. And actually, this behind the scenes episode is a little bit different from the past ones because not only are we going behind the scenes today, but because you all are kind of on the care team. Like if you're listening to this and you're a Blackhawker, you're
surprise,
you're on the care team.
You're on the care team.
So Anne and Alicia, you all are doing a podcast takeover for the next few weeks. Tell us more about that. Which I'm so excited about. I am glad to be learning from you all.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, so what will we be doing? Yeah.
We've got 3 more episodes.
I know we have 3 more episodes. I'm so excited because I feel like Alicia and I are chatty together. So hopefully we don't.
If you can't tell, at first I was like, this is going to be like a 15-minute episode.
Yeah, I was like,
chatting along.
Okay, too chatty. Next, right? I am excited. We have 3 more weeks coming up, and our hope is that we're gonna kind of expand on what it means that we're all called to care for one another. And so things that are really practical and helpful in that, like how to show up when you really don't know what to say. Those situations where someone's sharing something with you and you're not sure, like, oh, what do I say? How do I respond? How do I honor what they're sharing with me? So we'll talk about that next week. And then the week after...
What is episode 3? Episode 4.
It'll just be surprise. Maybe it's a surprise.
Maybe it's a surprise.
You got to listen in.
We'll roll it
out. Okay, so I think as long as you know what's coming next week, I think that is enough to keep us going. So if y'all want to know more, you just got to listen again.
I guess so.
So I'm going to stop this here because we have several more episodes with you guys. But before we go, I have 2 last questions.
Great.
The first is, say that there's somebody I can only imagine who is listening and is like, actually, I'm going through a tough time. I didn't know that how or that I could engage the care team.
Yes.
So if that person is listening, what would you say to them? How can they get connected to your team and pastoral care?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first is we're here for you and you don't have to do this alone. Mm-hmm. Our care team is available. We'd invite you to reach out. You can call the church main number and ask to speak with care, or you can call us directly. Should I say that number?
Sure, why not?
Okay, Get your pens ready or type with your thumbs, I guess, is maybe more current. Mm-hmm. It's 608-828-4230. So you can reach our care team directly that way. You can also email our care team at careresponse, all one word, careresponse @blackhawkchurch.org.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. And I think that's something, like you said, this is something that you all feel called to help our church in this way and to be the body that Jesus is calling us to be. And so don't hesitate to reach out. It's what we're here for. And last question. as people are listening, what can we be praying for as relates to your team? I think that's some feedback we've gotten from these behind the scenes episodes is that people have really enjoyed praying for our church body. So from your perspective, how can people be praying as relates to care ministry?
The first thing that comes to my mind, honestly, on how you can pray is when Anne and I, we often joke, like once a week, the whole staff, the staff team gets together for coffee break and they share stories of how God is at work. And we rarely can share a story there because we enter into spaces that are really private for people and painful. But I would say, on the care team, we're just very aware there's a lot of pain in our church. Mm. And so the first thing that comes to mind is I think you can just pray for people in our church that are in pain right now. Mm. Just pray for God's comfort and presence, and pray that our church and the care volunteers in particular and our care team, that we would be vessels of God's comfort and presence.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I would absolutely. I would add to that and just give praise to God for our volunteers. Mm. I mean, the volunteers on our team, I'm just so thankful for the maturity, the faithfulness, that they do such incredible work behind the scenes. Mm. And our church is so blessed by the time that they give and the way that they serve and the way that they're there for one another. So I'm so thankful for them and just would ask for prayers for their encouragement and renewal.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you again for joining me today. And y'all won't hear back from me for a few weeks, but instead I'm happily, handing it over to you two. So we'll see ya later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Next Steps. Don't forget to check out the show notes for a list of resources if you'd like to keep the conversation going. If you want to learn more about how to get connected at Blackhawk or simply find tools to help you grow, check out blackhawk.church/hub. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. Until next time, let's keep following Jesus together.